Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, a big welcome. My name's Jenny and I produce mainly lifestyle content on this channel, videos about all sorts of different things from disability and chronic illness to mental health to beauty to fashion to Disney and anything in between. It's a bit of a mixed bag, and I also do weekly vlogs pretty much every week, so hopefully there'll be something here that you will enjoy. In today's video I thought I would talk a little bit about the Motability Scheme because I am currently looking for my second Motability car on the scheme. I've had my first car for 3 years and I'm now looking for another one, and I thought it might just be helpful for me to answer some of the most commonly asked questions about the Motability Scheme. I know when I first started looking at the Motability Scheme I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know really what the Motability Scheme was, and for me, I would have found it really helpful to see some videos about the scheme. So I am on a few Facebook groups for the Motability Scheme, and I've kind of picked out some of the questions that people tend to ask quite a lot, and thought I would just answer them. Obviously, I'm not an expert, I'm not employed by the Motability Scheme, I'm just answering them as a customer and as somebody who has kind of been in the scheme for 3 years and is on their second car, well, hopefully going to be on their second car soon, and so hopefully knows a little bit about the scheme. But I would just say, if you kind of want any more information, to check out the Motability website, which I will link below, because they have loads of info on there, and you can always contact them as well. They're really friendly and helpful, and yeah, really good if you've got any questions. So yeah, as I said, I am looking for my second car now. I currently have a Ford EcoSport with a boot hoist for my wheelchair, and I've come to the end of my lease, and yeah, I'm looking for something new. The car that I currently have doesn't meet my needs quite so much anymore, so we're looking for something a little bit different. But yeah, hopefully you'll find some of these answers helpful and might help you if you're looking for a Motability car. So the first question is, how do you join the Motability Scheme? And the answer is, it's pretty simple. You have to be in receipt of a certain benefit or certain category of benefits. So, and I've got stuff written on my phone, so if I look down I apologise, I just want to make sure I get stuff right. So you either need to be getting the higher rate of the mobility component of disability living allowance, the enhanced rate of the mobility component of personal independence payment, war pensioners mobility supplement, or the armed forces independence payment. If you're getting one of those benefits, then you are automatically entitled to join the Motability Scheme, and then all you need to do is go to your local dealership, whether it's for a car, a WAV, or a scooter or a power chair. You go to your local dealership, and when you found the car or the scooter or whatever it is that you want to get, they will take you through the whole process. So they will apply through Motability for you, and then that component of your benefits will go directly through to Motability to pay for the lease of your car. So it's really simple. You don't have to fill out like loads of forms or anything like that, because let's face it, once you've filled out all your benefit forms, you really don't want to be filling out loads more stuff. Yeah, you just go and they do it all for you. So it's really, really easy and not too much work at all. The next question is, what do the scheme offer? And the scheme offer quite a range of different things actually, depending on what your needs are. So you can either lease a car, a WAV, which is a wheelchair accessible vehicle, a scooter, or a powered wheelchair. Again, it completely depends what your needs are and what you would find best to kind of make use of that money with. Those are all the options that are available, and then your lease covers the tax, the insurance, servicing, maintenance and breakdown cover on your car, which is great because I just find it so, I don't know, it takes such a weight off your shoulders knowing that if something goes wrong with your car, generally you just phone the number and they will sort it for you. So that's all covered. And then if you have a scooter or a power chair, it includes breakdown assistance, tyre and battery replacement, servicing, maintenance and insurance, and also a weatherproof storage cover, or if you've already got a weatherproof storage cover, you can choose another accessory up to the value of £35. So you may have just heard me mention a WAV, and you might be wondering, what is a WAV? So a WAV is the acronym basically for a wheelchair accessible vehicle. So my car at the moment isn't a WAV, but I can put my wheelchair in it, but a WAV is a slightly different type of car. So basically it's a vehicle that's been converted by mobility experts to allow a disabled person to travel in their wheelchair or to store their wheelchair in the car without having to collapse it. Basically, with a lot of WAVs, they will lower the floor and then they'll put either a foldable ramp or some sort of like electric lift type thing to get your vehicle, to get your scooter or your chair, usually your chair actually, into the car without having to fold it down or anything like that. So it's a good option if you have perhaps a big wheelchair, or if you would struggle to kind of collapse it yourself, or if you need to travel in your wheelchair as opposed to transferring to another seat. That option is there rather than going for like a standard car. So you've decided to look for a car or a WAV or a scooter or a chair on the Motability Scheme, and you want to know, can I just turn up at the showroom? And my answer to this would be yes, you can. In like normal times, we have turned up at the showroom before. However, I would massively recommend booking, especially at the moment with COVID. I would definitely book, because they have reduced staff levels there and they're obviously trying to maintain social distancing and not having too many people in the showrooms. So it's a really good idea to book, and also just in normal times anyway, it works a lot better if you book, because you can guarantee that there will be somebody there to talk to who knows about the Motability Scheme, and they can also make sure that they have the cars there that you need to look at. So it's not like essential to book in normal times, but it's massively recommended. So you've got your appointment to speak to a Motability dealer. What do you need to take to the appointment with you? This is something that I have kind of learnt as I've gone along. I think the first time I was looking at cars, I literally turned up with nothing. And yeah, over time I've kind of worked out what you need to take. So I would take your driving licence, because if you are going to buy a car, they need to know that you have a driving licence and they need to know details from that. I would also take your qualifying benefit letter, so the letter that's got your award on it that says exactly what type of benefit you've got, because they're going to need that to confirm that you're eligible for the Motability Scheme. I think also a utility bill with your name and address, because sometimes they need proof of your name and address to like identify you, to make sure that you are who you say you are. Any details from your previous Motability car. So I basically have a folder that has all my Motability stuff in it, and I just take that with me because sometimes they need to look at like past references and things like that. So it's a good idea to have that kind of stuff with you. A tape measure is a big must, certainly for us. If you are looking for a car that needs to fit your wheelchair in, or a scooter, or some sort of medical device, you need to make sure that the boot is big enough to be able to fit it in. So we always take a tape measure with us now, and also, if possible, measure the thing you need to fit in before you go, and have the measurements written down. It just saves time trying to like measure it up and things like that. You might also want to take the wheelchair or scooter with you that you need to fit in the car. This is obviously going to depend on how big that wheelchair is. For me, there's not a lot of point in taking my chair with me, although actually it sits in the back of my car anyway, so it ends up coming. But because I need a hoist to get it into a car, I can't like test it out to see if it's going to fit. But if you've got a manual wheelchair, it might be a good idea to take that, because you could check it out and see if it fits in the car while you're there. So yeah, it's a possible thing that you could take. And also, if you are going to have any other named drivers on your lease, it's a really good idea to have them with you when you actually go to sort of sort out the lease and buy the car, and they need to bring their driving licenses as well so that they can make sure they've got all the details and sign them off as a named driver. So the next question is, how long can you keep the car? So a mobility car or scooter or power chair isn't yours, you're leasing it from Motability, so you don't keep it forever. A standard lease lasts for 3 years with a car, or if it's a WAV it would be 5 years. However, if you've driven less than 15,000 miles at the end of your lease, you may be able to extend it for 1 or 2 years. So if you've got a car that you really love and you haven't driven more than 15,000 miles, then you might be able to continue using that car for another 2 years or 1 year, it depends. They kind of will tell you what you're kind of eligible for. Also, if you've got certain adaptations to your car, so things like certain types of hand controls and things like that, they can also extend your lease for 1 or 2 years. Again, they will tell you what your specific circumstances mean you can do, but it just means you're not having to look for a car quite so often. And if you've got a scooter or a power chair, the lease is also 3 years. So quite a few people ask if it's important to test drive a vehicle, and I would always say yes. It's a big thing that you're buying and it's important that it meets your needs. So I would always say if you can test drive it, then do. It helps you work out if you're comfortable driving it, if you're comfortable using it, if it feels right for you. So yeah, I would always say if you can test drive it, do. If you can't drive, then ask somebody else to do the test drive. So if you are having the Motability car but you're unable to drive, you would have a named driver, so it might be a partner, a parent, a family member, a friend, and yeah, take them with you and ask them to do the test drive. If you can go with them, then that's great, because you still get to have a feel for what the car's like and they get to obviously test how they find driving it. But yeah, just because you can't drive doesn't mean that you shouldn't still do a test drive with somebody. And also I would say if you're getting a scooter or a power chair, ask if you can test it out in the showroom beforehand and have a little sort of ride around, because there are a lot of very different scooters and power chairs. And I know when I got my power chair like privately, I tested a few and there were quite big differences to how comfortable they felt, how much they met my needs. So it's really worth having a bit of a go with them. I don't know whether some dealerships will let you like hire it for a certain amount of time just to sort of give it a really good sort of go before you actually go into a lease. So that might be an option as well. But yeah, I would just say definitely try before you buy. So another question that gets asked quite a lot is, how long do you need on your specific benefit award to be able to apply to Motability? And the answer is you need to have at least 12 months left of your award for Motability to accept you for a car or a scooter or something like that. If you haven't got more than 12, if you haven't got 12 months, or if you've got less than 12 months on your benefit award, it's worth contacting the DWP, because they may be able to either extend it or do a reassessment to make sure you then have the correct amount of time on there. I don't know if there's any changes at the moment with COVID as to how long you have to have on there. I'm sure I saw somewhere that you didn't have to have 12 months, but that's worth checking with Motability. But yeah, in ordinary times you have to have at least 12 months. Another question that people ask is, how many drivers can you have on your car / insurance? And you can have up to 3 named drivers on your insurance for your car, and that doesn't have to include you. So if you can't drive, that means you could have 3 people that weren't you as named drivers on your car. So for me, I have myself and my dad and my mum on my car at the moment. So you can add 2 drivers when you actually get your car, and then if you want to add a 3rd driver, you just give Motability a ring and they will sort that out for you. And also if you want to obviously change your named drivers at any point, you ring them up and they will sort it out for you. It's also possible to add a temporary driver. So if you, I don't know, were going on holiday with somebody, or I don't know, any other circumstances where you might just need somebody different to drive your car, you can ring Motability and have them put on as a temporary driver, which lasts for 30 days. However, if they are going to be driving your car at sort of regular intervals throughout the year, they won't let them be a temporary driver. They have to be a named driver, so it does have to be temporary, but that option is there if you were going on holiday, for example, with somebody different. So the next question is a really important one, and it is, what adaptations can you get for your car? And the adaptations typically fall into 3 different categories. So there are adaptations to help you drive, to help you store a wheelchair or scooter, or to help you get in and out of the car. And these adaptations can seriously, honestly, be life-changing, can help so much with independence and, yeah, allowing you to go out in a car when perhaps you wouldn't without those adaptations. So there are about 500 different adaptations, and I can't obviously go through every single one, but just for some examples, so I don't know, with like the driving adaptations, there might be things like hand controls, an electronic accelerator, a left foot accelerator, pedal modifications, steering aids or remote control devices. For things to help you store your wheelchair, there are things like a car boot hoist and also rooftop stowage. And then for access to your car, there are things like transfer plates, an electric hoist for the person, and also swivel seats. A lot of the adaptations you can get at no extra cost. They come as standard if you kind of want them as part of your vehicle, or there are other adaptations that you have to pay extra for. So on the subject of payment, a lot of people obviously want to know whether they have to pay anything for their car / scooter / chair / WAV, or whether they have to pay for the adaptations at all. So yeah, there's a lot to this one basically. So with cars and wheelchair accessible vehicles, there might be an advanced payment. So you're basically, for any kind of Motability vehicle, you're paying like a monthly lease, and that will come out of your benefit. But for some cars, that monthly lease doesn't cover the car, so you have to pay an advanced payment, which is what you pay when you actually get the car originally. The advanced payments vary significantly depending on what kind of car you're going to get. Generally, WAVs are more expensive, not always, so it's worth looking, but basically the more expensive the car, the higher your advance payment is going to be, so it's worth having a look and working out what exactly you need, and trying to find obviously the cheapest option. Also, if you want any kind of added extras, so if you want, I don't know, heated seats or a heated windscreen or an electric tailgate or specific colours that are kind of not standard, you may have to pay for those extra if they don't kind of come as standard in one of the kind of car packages. So that's obviously up to you, kind of what extras you want to add. And as I mentioned earlier, some adaptations will be included. There's a whole list on the Motability website of which ones are included and which ones aren't. And then there's the ones which you would have to pay for. So for example, with my hoist, I had to pay extra for that because it's not included in the cost of the car. So it's worth having a look and seeing what adaptations you'd need and whether you'd have to pay extra for them, because it does vary between different adaptations. And then for scooters and chairs, quite often the like monthly payment is less than the benefit that you get. So the monthly payment would get taken out of your benefit, but then anything that's left you would just get kind of as normal with the rest of your benefits. So you may not necessarily be losing the whole mobility component of your benefit if you go for a scooter or a chair. So something that I have been kind of wondering this time round is, yeah, there's all these adaptations that are available. How on earth do you know what there is out there and what you would find helpful? And my answer to that came from a phone call to Motability actually quite recently. Basically, Motability can refer you to a driving assessment centre where they have a whole host of different types of cars with various adaptations in them, and basically you go through a kind of assessment where they find out about your needs, and then you try different adaptations and work out what works for you, which is amazing. I never knew that that existed. I thought you just had to kind of pluck them out of thin air and hope for the best. But yeah, you can be referred to one of these centres and they will really help you. So I've actually been referred to one of the centres. I haven't been yet, but I will document my experiences probably on my weekly vlogs. So yeah, if you're kind of struggling with driving for whatever reason, it's worth speaking to Motability to see if you can go to one of these centres, because hopefully it will really help with kind of getting used to the adaptations as well, because I'm looking at hand controls and I'm absolutely terrified because obviously I have never driven with hand controls. So it gives you an opportunity to actually try them out and to see how you get on with them. And I think they can also refer you to have some lessons with that specific adaptation. So if you decide, yeah, I would like to go for hand controls, I think they can help you with some lessons to actually get used to using them. So it's worth talking to Motability because I just had no idea that this was even available. Another question that people often ask is, how do I find the right vehicle for me? And I guess this has got various points to it. There are shows that you can go to. So there is the Motability One Big Day events, although unfortunately at the moment they're not able to happen, although they are doing online ones. Not quite the same, but it might give you a bit of information and stuff to get you started. But yeah, kind of that kind of event, or the big kind of disability shows like NADEX, they are really good for going to start getting an idea of just what's out there, because it can just feel overwhelming when you have absolutely no idea where to start. The Motability website is also really, really helpful. It's one of my main starting points. If I kind of know the things I need from a car, you can search for various things, do like an advanced search and search for the number of seats, whether you want automatic or manual, whether you want a big car, a smaller car, an SUV. You can search for all of those and then just see what's available on the scheme, because not all cars are available on the scheme. So it's important obviously to check to make sure that the car that you want is on the scheme. I would say make a list of what your needs are. However big or however small you think they are, write them all down, because that will really help you with kind of working out what kind of car or WAV or chair or scooter that you need. It's just a good starting point, helping you kind of know exactly what you're looking for. Visiting dealers is obviously really important, just getting out there and seeing what's available. I have visited car dealers before thinking that that would be the right one, and gone and found that actually it's not what I thought it was, or it isn't quite right for me, and then you go to another dealer and find something that is. So it's worth just getting out there to some dealers if you've obviously got some ideas of what you're sort of starting to look for, so that you can just see the ranges of things that are on offer. And also test drives, as I said before, I think it's really important to do test drives of whatever car or scooter or chair that you're kind of looking for. That is going to help you to work out what kind of thing is going to be right for you. So there's a lot of different ways that you can find the right vehicle or scooter or chair for you. I think it's just about doing all of those things and narrowing it down until you come up with a short list, and then hopefully find the one that's right for you. So something that quite a few people are now interested in is asking whether there are any electric cars on the scheme. And there are a number of both fully electric cars and also quite a lot of different hybrid cars available. And hopefully as the demand for electric cars in the UK goes up, there will start to be obviously more choice. But I had a look and there does seem to be quite a decent amount of choice on there, more than I actually realised. So they are available, and it's worth having a look if you're looking for an electric or a hybrid. So another question that has come up for me personally is that the only car that suits my needs has a large advance payment and or I need expensive adaptations. What happens if I can't afford it? And up until recently, I had been looking at cars thinking, I just don't think I'm going to be able to afford a new car because I need quite a big car to fit my wheelchair in, and I'm now also looking at needing adaptations as well, and I was just thinking it's going to be too expensive, I'm not going to be able to afford it. But Motability is actually a charity and they offer grants to people who are struggling to afford what they need to be able to get around independently. Up until recently, I had absolutely no idea that that even existed, so I was really grateful to find that out. You need to just contact the Motability team, let them know that you're struggling to find the money for what you need, and they will then take you through the process of applying for the grant. So I have started that process and have been sent a form to fill in with all my needs, all about my wheelchair, various other different things, and that goes off to them. They then have a look at it, work out what you would be entitled to, and then they come back with a list of possible cars that they think would suit your needs. But the guy that I spoke to did say if you look at that list and there's just nothing on there that you think is right, you can go back to them, and it's quite like an open dialogue. If you've got other suggestions, they're there to try and help you find the right car, and to try and support you with getting that. And again, the same for adaptations. So it's worth asking for help. I know it's not always the easiest thing to do, but if it means that you're going to have some independence and some freedom where before you may not have, I just think it's worth it. So yeah, definitely look into it and see if it's something that you would be eligible for, if it's something that you're really struggling with, and hopefully Motability will be able to help. And then the last question that I just wanted to answer was actually a more personal question. I put a question thing on my Instagram stories just asking if anybody had any specific questions about the Motability Scheme or my experiences. And one of the questions that came up was, why have I decided not to go for a WAV? And it's a bit of a difficult one to answer because I feel like my reasons could be seen as being a little bit shallow. But basically the car I have at the moment isn't a WAV, and it roughly meets my needs. There are things that we need to change about it now, but being able to fold my chair down and use the hoist to get it in and out of the car works really well for me, and so I'm kind of quite happy to continue doing that. I like the kind of standard cars that are available, and I think, I don't know, maybe part of not going for a WAV is me struggling to accept that kind of, I don't know, like level of disability. I don't know, it's difficult because I'm not ashamed to be disabled in any way. I'm happy to talk about it openly. I don't care if people see me out in my wheelchair or know that I'm disabled, but I guess I just want to be able to access a standard car, and I guess that's just personal preference, isn't it? It's kind of what you like aesthetically as well, and that's not always possible, and I have had to kind of consider the idea that maybe I will need a wheelchair accessible vehicle. It has been quite difficult to find cars that would fit my chair and that would take the weight of my hoist. So it's not that I've kind of discounted a WAV entirely, it's just that I think my preference is to go for a standard car with adaptations, just because, yeah, it is shallow. It's because I like the look of a standard car, and this is absolutely no disrespect or judgment or anything on anybody that has a WAV, because I think they're amazing vehicles, and if it comes to a point when I need one, then that's what I'll go for. But for me at the moment, a standard car works. They are able to accommodate my needs, and so I'm quite happy to go with them. I guess another reason that I've kind of steered clear of WAVs is the extra cost. They're often often more expensive. Again, it completely depends what WAV you go for and what adaptations you get and all that kind of stuff. And you can get grants to help with them as well, so it's not a deal breaker. But yeah, that's kind of my reasoning for continuing with a standard car at the moment. It probably won't make sense to everybody. It doesn't make sense to me that much. But that's just where I am in my journey at the moment. So I hope that kind of makes some sort of sense and kind of explains things a little bit. And yeah, that is all of the questions that I'm going to answer today. Hopefully that's kind of given you a good overview of the Motability Scheme for both cars and wheelchairs and scooters. And hopefully if you're looking for a Motability car, or if you're not even thinking about that, but it's something that you'd never even thought of, that you kind of now think, oh, maybe it's open to me, it's kind of giving you some things to go on. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. If you have and you'd like to see more videos from me, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Also hit the notification bell. That means you'll get notified every time I upload a video so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment, let me know if there's anything in particular that you want to comment on from the video, whether you've got any more questions, whether you are a Motability Scheme user and what your Motability car or vehicle or chair or scooter means to you. Yeah, just leave me a comment, let me know any of those things, and also let me know if there's any other videos you'd like to see me do, whether they are specifically about Motability or about anything else, disability or chronic illness or mental health or anything else in between. Do let me know, because I'm always looking for your ideas of things to do. Also come and follow me on social media. My links are in the description below. I'm mainly on Instagram, sometimes on Twitter. I'm not that great at Twitter, but I am trying. So do come and say hello to me over there, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye!